everybody. Welcome back to Whispers. We had a little bit of technical issues with Nikki's computer. Go figure. We are back.
This is starting to be like a weekly thing here.
Nick needs a new computer. Anybody out there that wants to give Nick a computer, please.
Give Nick a computer.
Because the poor guy, he works so hard.
Yes. Have you looked out the window to see if anything's flying over your building there?
There we go. Maybe
I haven't seen anything, but I'll start looking.
Well, I got a Mac, and it's not doing anything to that. I got my laptop out. Our podcast will be starting now officially because we lost everything we recorded so far. So I'm going to reintroduce our guest tonight is Mr. Frank Machino Jr. and his friend, Mr. Alfred Lindbergh. Alfred is a ex-military Vietnam pilot. Frank is the author of Shoot Them Down, the Flying Saucer Air Wars of 1952. And we are talking about aliens and the Flatwoods Monster.
Don't forget, Alfred also writes for UFO Magazine. And
that's right.
Yeah, so he's a contributing columnist. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, I don't want to miss anything.
I have a monthly column over there. Really enjoy it, too.
Now, Alfred, how did you get into all of this with Frank?
You know, I'm going to tell you that, but could I briefly say, with regard to what we were talking about earlier, that 21 hours of continuous sightings of UFOs means that there were people documented out there in the southeastern United States area, documented reporting weird stuff in the sky for 21 hours and change. You know, I mean, that is significant, and I think that's why it's the greatest flap that the United States has ever seen.
What do you mean by weird stuff in the sky?
Well, stuff that didn't have the prosaic explanation, you know, that they couldn't say was the exhalations from gassy pelicans as they flew past Venus in a temperature inversion, you know?
You mean that doesn't really happen? Oh, jeez.
Hey, before I forget, anybody out there in UPRN that would like to call and ask our guests a question, anybody here locally, our numbers are 304-214-1600. And our toll-free number is 1-866-514-1600.
And what's the weirdest explanation that you've heard the military or the government or anything say to explain this stuff? I mean, because it does, and you know, we kind of laugh about it. It does seem like, you know, they do go to lengths to try to, you know, just disprove to make us all look like idiots.
Probably the Flatwoods case, where 21 hours
meteor?
of sustained UFO sightings were all blamed on a meteor that was seen that flew over Washington, D.C. Treetop level was seen for 5 to 6 seconds. So all of the sightings, the 102 documented locations I have so far, and there's probably a lot more if I probably spent another 18 years finding more locations.
Yeah, a meteor dropping stuff off and making weird pooty-sounding noises.
And when this
burning people's laundry.
Pooty sounding?
One of the UFOs that actually...
Those damn pelicans.
Yeah, that passed over Charleston was reported to have actually backed up the treetop level, redirected in the opposite direction again.
Really?
Hey, a meteor can do that.
Yeah, of course.
Well, actually, this alleged meteor that flew over Washington, flew 206 miles west, was sighted over the Capitol area. It was documented in the New York Times. It flew over Virginia, flew into West Virginia. When it hit northern Braxton County, it redirected, as a meteor will do, right, Al?
Yeah.
And it flew south, flew down Route 4, and went into Flatwoods.
You could say it bounced, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No.
And this is, there was no meteor impact pit found, which was the explanation. And 102 locations around the United States, up and down the East Coast, all of this was blamed on one meteor.
And no meteors made the official record books either, did they, Frank?
No, nowhere's in the world. The only place where there were meteors were in the Air Force records.
So they really didn't even try to explain it. They didn't even lie good.
No, there was no homework done, and actually the people at Harvard had a meteor program going on at that time where they were photographing meteors in the early 50s, and for September 12, 1952, guess what? They didn't capture any on film.
Wow, well, Harvard messed up, I guess.
Yeah, the whole thing was a big mess, and it was just a scramble. And maybe back in that era, it was a good thing they covered it up because the country really was panicking. And, getting UFOs crash landing around the United States. The majority of them crash landed in West Virginia. One crashed in Tennessee en route to Oak Ridge National Laboratory. But what happened is where a couple of the locations where these things went down in West Virginia was in your area in Wheeling, and the other one came down in Flatwoods. And there were both reports of entities seen at both locations. Nick, you've been reading up on this a little bit, right?
A little bit, yeah. We went to the library here and found the newspaper articles talking about...
I'm still destined to get the Bashful Billy tattoo that I found that was in the newspaper.
Yeah, he wants to get that. That's if he does, I will send a picture to you.
Yeah, and the girls will be flocking by the hundred.
Yeah, more so than they are now.
Yeah. Wow.
Now tell us a little bit for those of you that didn't get a chance to listen. The last time you were on, what happened here in Wheeling with the flying saucer?
The Wheeling Intelligencer paper on Tuesday, 9/16/52, they ran an article, Monster from Outer Space Arrives Here Via, quote, Saucer. And the Intelligencer staff writer wrote about this particular incident here, and it was where a monster was reported in the area of Vineyard Hill. And there was actually police that were asked to go up to the Vineyard Hill to guard the area. And what was said to have happened was there was a horribly burned body of a woman was found at Vineyard Hill. And then the follow-up reports, in reading through this particular article, people started talking about, quote, a 10-foot monster from another world, and follow-up articles. And this story was pretty heavily covered up. And so for that few-day span after the Flatwoods incident, we have reports of monsters roaming around that particular area. And what I found interesting was what they wrote about in the Intelligencer was the same thing that happened in Flatwoods, that terrible smell that was found in the area. And the Flatwoods incident, it was described as sulfur, and it was described here as a disgusting, burning sulfur-type smell. And we have the body of a woman was found at Vineyard Hill burnt, which the way I perceived this was the cover story, because when I looked and investigated the story, I didn't find any homicides or suicides of a woman. That's not very common.
So you didn't find anything on a burnt woman?
No, there's nothing documented.
Well, geez, if anybody out there has a relative that was burnt up on Vineyard Hill in the 50s, call the station.
Yeah, it was on that particular Flatwoods weekend. But what I found interesting about that case is the 102 locations where I had plotted the points across the United States of these UFOs that flew inland.
Yeah.
One of them flew and made a beeline and headed directly towards Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Really?
And I got the Project Blue Book documents, and I pinpointed all the locations. Then I got some of the Ohio newspapers, the Ohio Valley area newspapers, where you guys are, and I actually tracked this UFO that was damaged. It did a turn, came back, was seen across Ohio. It was seen by an Army plane. It flew towards the flight path line of the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. It turned again and proceeded south into the Ogilvie Park area, and it landed there.
Really?
Sounds like a meteor.
Yeah, and this is in the same area where this thing was talked about here. My quote I said a minute ago, a 10-foot monster from another world seen in the Wheeling area.
They just wanted to golf.
Mm-hmm.
That's...
When we talked about this last time, and this may be where Alfred can help us out because he, being in the military, you had said that this was kind of a search net that was going on afterwards. That there's all these sightings all of a sudden that happened afterwards with the crashes. Am I remembering that correct?
Right.
Hello?
There we go. They're beeping in on you.
Oh, geez. I said something wrong.
Okay, CIA, get off the line.
What happened is over Flatwoods, and this was documented by Ivan T. Sanderson and heavily by Gray Barker, who was one of the, both of them were the original investigators into this case. What they couldn't figure out back then in 52, 53 era is why the people in Braxton County and over Flatwoods were describing so many different UFOs. There was oval-shaped UFOs that were the size of two-car garages. There were round UFOs. There was a UFO seen that was round with a flat bottom. There was a tremendous-sized UFO that was cigar-shaped. And all of these crafts were flying over Flatwoods, and they all flew over the Bailey Fisher farm. There was actually... I have
all of these shapes, like all these crafts, flew over the farm. Over
that farm, which is about half the size of a football field, with the landing site up on top of the Bailey Fisher farm, the back plateau.
Now, just to satisfy my brain that's going in 100 different directions right now, did they all go at the same time, or were they all sighted as of passing? You know, here on Tuesday, here, you know, at 5, here. You know, was it all a collective? They all met there at the same day, same time?
Like a mass sighting.
They were all there. Actually, the first one was a jet-shaped object, and it was seen by a witness called A.M. Jordan, and it was seen at 6:50 p.m. Then at 7:15, a round fiery object.
Oh.
That was a big sphere, maybe about a story high, came flying in. Then at 7:25 p.m., you have the Flatwood ship flew into the area. And then about 10:30 p.m., another object flew into the area, and it actually had flames coming off of it.
See, their behavior over time suggested that they were kind of on a downed pilot rescue mission. You know, they would set themselves up or rather deploy into delaying actions and between the good guys and the bad guys, so to speak. And I mean, sure, it's conjecture, sure, but when you look at the map and you look at the evidence, and all of the stuff just hangs on the pegs so nicely that it was a military operation as far as the aliens were concerned.
Now,
is that fair, Frank?
Yeah, well, the Flatwood ship actually, when it came across Washington, Virginia, hit northern Braxton County and turned south, it flew between the mountains. And when I was talking to Stanton about this and we were laying out some of the flight paths and reviewing this, these UFOs were actually flying through the flight lines. And the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport, the one that landed in Ogilvie Park, nearly collided with a passenger plane. The quote was,
really?
It nearly clipped the wing of the pilot's plane. Came flying towards them. What they were doing is they were flying and going from airport to airport and following the beacons across the United States. And I actually have a West Virginia map from 52-53 that shows the flight lines and what they were called. And when I laid it out, Alfred, they were actually flying right through the corridors. And when the one landed in Flatwood at 7:25, there was actually 2 that came in to that area beforehand. And what's interesting is when I worked with the military people, when we laid out a map of the Flatwoods area, one of the UFOs flew north of the Fisher farm, one flew south of the Fisher farm in formation. It flew over the Braxton County Airport, and one actually flew directly over the farm.
Now,
so you have these objects doing passes and doing sweeps over a grid, basically a grid pattern.
Now, I get this. Let me make sure I got this right. There was 2 landings, one at Flatwood, one at Ogilvie.
Right.
Is this the same craft, 2 different crafts?
There were 2 different crafts.
Okay, so and
the third one landed in Arcadia, Tennessee, just short of Oak Ridge National Laboratory, and it flew approximately 100 miles through the no-fly zone.
Now, I got a question, too, here, Frank, and I don't want to sound... I don't even know how I want to sound. If they knew the flight path,
right?
They know which way they're supposed to be flying. You even said it was through the corridors,
right?
how can you prove that these were alien craft and not something that was part of like Wright-Patterson or something, earthly, something that we already knew, because they had to have known something in order to know these the flight lines.
Well, they had to have some intelligence.
Just followed the beacons, which could be picked up by any type of aircraft, no matter if it was ET, earthly, or foreign. And Albert could probably explain that a little bit better, being a fighter pilot himself, of how you pick up the beacons and follow the flight line.
Real quick, we got a phone call. Who we got, Lo?
Oh, speaking of ET, that's who we have.
Hello?
Hi, you're on the air.
Yeah, something. I think that UFO, that ET stuff, is just a bunch of nonsense.
Some nonsense?
Yeah, it's just distraction. All the real stuff going on in this country that nobody talks about. All the lies, the wars and stuff,
Well, thank you, but this isn't the forum for that. You can call in on somebody else's show tomorrow, and you can voice all your opinions on that thing.
You bring this crap up.
Okay.
All righty.
So you were saying?
Yeah, just keep going there, you guys.
See, Frank, that's why we love Lola.
Well, this isn't the forum for that,
Sounds like Miller time someplace.
Call Steve Novotny. He loves talking.
I know where the guy's coming from, and my heart really goes out to him, because there is a lot of important things going on in this country. But I'll tell you something else is important too. Important is the honor and sensibility and integrity of men that went down in the service of this country and are not being respected or recognized for same. I think that's pretty important too.
Oh, I agree with you 100% on that. There's all those men, and you were saying all the planes that were downed, 4 at a time. You were saying, those were our servicemen. Those were our people. And they don't even get the rights to a burial because their bodies disappeared.
You're absolutely right. And
or they were chumped and disrespected in descriptions of how they died due to negligence and incompetence, and nothing could be further from the truth.
Pilot error, running out of gas. That was a good one, Alfred.
Yeah.
And what gets me is some critics have actually went as far, and this kind of aggravated me, is comparing American fighter pilots who ran out of gas and died is being compared to American civilian drivers who run out of gas and pull over to the curb on the side of the road, which I think is absolutely a disgrace to make a comparison of that. What do you think, Al, about running out of gas, comparing fighter pilots to civilians driving?
Well, the thing of it is, I served for 23 years as an aviator, and I never knew anyone, nor, darned if I can't even hardly recall any stories of people running out of gas on a military mission. Now, I know that it happens. But to be dismissed as it happening all the time and it being a common pilot occurrence, no, I don't think so.
Alfred, what actually happens when a plane would be near the point of flaming out, which is running out of gas?
Well, I don't know too much about that particular aircraft, the Air Force jet aircraft. Were they Starfires?
Yes.
And I'm not sure what kind of warnings they had, but I know that there are buttons and dials and buzzers that can be employed to warn the pilot that he's getting close to his bingo time. So, I just don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I can't imagine that they have just that little gas light that comes on in our vehicles, right. that would be the only warning they would have.
Well, even before that, they're going to, if they're putting them on a mission, they're going to give them plenty of gas. It's local. I mean, it's over the United States that we're talking about. It just seems incomprehensible that we would put them up there like, okay, you only got a quarter tank. Good luck.
And we have airports everywhere that are capable of fueling a plane. It's not like if it was that big of an emergency, they just wouldn't crash down. We got another phone call, though. No, we don't. Somebody complaining about ET.
All right.
One point I want to bring up here. A few years back, Stanton T. Friedman was at the National Archives, and he went into the basement and he did his research and he looked up what was going on for the summer of 1952, and he was looking for documentations for the tabulations of major accidents. And it was pretty odd that the September 1952 document for the tabulations for September, which is where the Flatwoods case fell into, is gone, and it's missing. But what Stanton did find, and this is very interesting, and I brought this up in the book, is there was a confidential memorandum dated 10 September 52, and it was a tabulation of the major accidents, and it was written, signed by Lieutenant Colonel Myers. And it actually gives the fighter major accident reports for June and July, which was the height of the UFO sightings in all-time American history during the summer of 52. Now, Project Blue Book reports for June 52, there was 148 reports. July, it escalated to 536 reports, okay? Now, taking into the text of this whole thing, for June of 1952, the United States Air Force reported 100 fighter major accidents. There were 36 aircraft destroyed and 21 fatalities. In July of 1952, there was 135 major fighter accidents.
Is that sinking in for everybody? In 1 month?
1 month, 135 accidents with fighter aircraft. 58 were destroyed and 30 men died. Now, Alfred, when you take June and July, the high point of the sightings for the summer of 52, here's the totals for 2 months, 8-week period. 235 fighters were destroyed.
That's just crazy.
And folks, I am here to tell you that if 200 aircraft go down without a good explanation, some kind of reason, if it's equipment, if it's pilot incompetence, whatever it is, those aircraft are going to stop flying because they don't grow on trees. Right. Believe me, the United States is going to cut their losses on this.
Well, I remember the Osprey, which was some new plane they were making down. I used to live in Jacksonville, North Carolina, for the Marines. I think they had 1 or 2 crashes, and they were trying to pull, backing and funding and everything they could. Just for one crash. It was, outrageous. How many planes have crashed in Iraq, or been shot down in Iraq, and Afghanistan? Nowhere near 200.
No.
Yeah, it's just.
But you don't even hear about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, see, that's the point. 186 airplanes go down in 1 month, and everybody just goes, "Oh, well, that's the way it goes." But oh no,
those
I'm sorry.
Can't
those
fly.
aircraft were employed. They were doing something.
Yeah.
Guys, why is 1952? Why was that such a big year? Do you have any idea why there would have been so much activity in that particular time frame, and then not so much before or after?
You want to take that, Al?
I was just going to say nukes and radar and new radios, and they're becoming more interested and concerned with what we're doing. That's the only thing I had to offer.
We were also experimenting and dropping bombs during that era, and in November of 52.
Oh, and the missiles, yeah.
Hey, guys, let me interrupt you real quick. We got lost track of time, and we got the news coming up at 7. Stick around. We're going to bring you guys right back after we're done with the news. You're listening to AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog, and UPRN. Welcome back to Whispers, everybody, on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog, and UPRN. Give us a call, 304-214-1600 if you're out of the area. Call us toll-free, 1-866-514-1600. I'm Jordan Klein, here with Nick Queen and the lovely Lola Miller.
Miller time.
Yeah.
Apparently it's Miller time for somebody.
We're taking that from Alfred.
We're keeping our guests on a little bit longer today. With us is Mr. Frank Vicino Jr. and Alfred
Limburg.
I'm sorry, I don't have my paper in front of me right now. And we're talking about flying saucer crashes and military jet shoot-em-ups. How you doing, fellas?
Very good.
Very, very good.
You back, Al?
I'm back.
All right.
Yeah, that's always a good break to have to go to the bathroom. It's nice and long,
That's what I did.
You weren't there, Al. I've been talking to you for 10 minutes.
All right, fellas, we're talking about you know, all these government planes going down. Alfred, you were a military pilot. You know, there's no explanation for what's going on except for running out of gas. And how do they get away with it?
Well, again, I'm just speculating, but I think this was during a period where people would believe pretty much anything their government told them, as Lola pointed out before, and that was simply the situation. This history, this story, this affair was just too big to let go. I mean, you know, aren't we really, bottom line, kind of talking about going toe-to-toe with the aliens in armed combat and conflict and what have you? I mean, it's some pretty astonishing stuff.
And there are records there, fellas, about in the Project Blue Book unknown cases. When I went through all the Project Blue Book files between 1950 up to 1959, that was my 10-year window, I actually found 25 cases where UFOs, flying saucers, had interactions, and there was dog fights and all types of things going on, and it's documented right there by the government.
Oh, we've got the top brass of the time on tape and in recorded testimony. Otherwise, that hundreds of times American aircraft were sent up to deal with UFOs. Now, not necessarily flying saucers, but they were calling them UFOs for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were unconventional aircraft flying over the airspace of America during a time when the United States was anticipating the Soviet Union to drop atomic bombs on us. So we were, as Alfred says, spring-loaded in the ready, set, shoot position to go after whatever was coming over American airspace. And it was even to such an extent of being serious that back in July, it was actually July 30th of 52, the president of the United States Rocket Society, Mr. Robert Farnsworth, actually sent a telegram to President Harry Truman, Robert Lovett, who was the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of the Army, Frank Pace Jr., and Daniel Kimball, who was the Navy Secretary. And this is what he wrote to him in this particular telegram. I respectfully suggest that no offensive action be taken against the objects reported as identified, which have been sighted over our nation. Should they be extraterrestrial, such action might result in the gravest consequences, as well as possibly alienating us from beings of superior powers. Friendly contact should be sought as long as possible.
I mean, if they can get here, they can kick our butts.
I know.
That's what my next question was going to be. What exactly can we do to them? Because they are getting here from pretty far away.
Yeah.
They've already got us beat on the whole brains thing. So.
Well, not really brains, but like they're much more advanced than us, and that's kind of scary.
That's brains, Nick.
Well, I mean, you know, we might have the capability to get there eventually, but they seem like they got a jump start on us.
Well,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm hoping we can match them in brains, because if not, we're in trouble.
Well, Stanton Friedman says that there's a good potentiality of Zeta Reticuli, some navigable distance from us.
Uh-huh.
You want to explain what that means?
Yeah.
Well, just meaning that it's a star system that's close enough to us that has a sun like our sun, but a billion years older. So the speculation is, you know, I mean, the advanced civilization could be as much as 8 billion years.
Oh my God! And just in the light of, we were on the show before this one, we were talking about the Hubble Space, you know, whatever telescope. Oh my God!
Yeah, isn't it odd that they decided to fix it again after deciding that they weren't going to do it at all? And oh, by the way, we're having all these other difficulties that the caller earlier alluded to, and we can't afford it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's what we were talking
and now
about.
All of a sudden,
should the money be
doing
spent?
it again? What's up with that?
But the fact that they've got photos now of galaxies that are already gone as far as our time is concerned, it's just amazing. And you know, you got to think, some of these sci-fi shows that are on, you know, they talk about black holes and things. Why couldn't people or beings be shooting through these things from one time dimension to another? I don't think that's so out of the realm of possibility. And I'm not Believe me, I am far from being smart enough to figure any of this stuff out. But
I'm glad you're not waiting for me to do it.
And I mean, look at the Large Hadron Collider that they were making, that's supposedly making black holes in itself. Like, here we're getting the technology to create it. I mean, we're idiots because we're actually trying it here. But if they're so advanced, they know how to make black holes and make them do whatever they want to. Why can't they be here in a flash and gone in an instant?
Well, just because we can't figure it out doesn't mean somebody else has it.
Well, any technology sufficiently advanced is going to appear like magic to us.
Yeah. Well, going back to that memo, if there's a memo like this floating around physically there that people can touch and read, then how can the government continue to maintain that there's absolutely nothing there?
Because they can't do anything else? Could that be it? They can't do anything else. They are restricted from making any kind of movement because as soon as you start sliding down the slippery slope of disclosure, then you got to let everything go. Do you think?
Well, yeah. But at this point in time, I understand that they thought we were so stupid back in the 40s and 50s that we couldn't handle the truth. But in this day and age, do you honestly think it would create some huge panic? I don't. I think people would be more in awe of this if they even believe the government. I mean, let's face it, they tell us the sun is yellow and we're going to question it because it's the government these days.
Distract us from the economy.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
It's that look over there theory, just like the swine flu thing last week. But, where
did that go?
Back to Mexico. I don't know. But if there's actual physical evidence of this, that people were saying this and taking it as, serious truth, I don't know how they can continue to hide it for much longer.
Well, I think it's becoming increasingly harder for them to do just that. And I think as more time goes on and more countries start releasing their coveted UFO data on their own, I think it's an indicator that this ufological thing is bursting at the seams and it's getting ready to pop. But you mentioned earlier that like you don't think we'd really panic and go completely nuts if they said, okay, we're here, and I would tend to agree with you. But consider this. It might be better for us as a species ourselves to just go ahead and get past any panic that there is, because there's no profit to putting off the visit to the dentist's office. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. I do.
I mean, you got to get it out of your way eventually. If they're here,
Yeah, and this is the kind of news that does not improve with age.
No, it doesn't. Not like a fine wine, that's for sure.
Let's move on a little bit to something a little more acceptable. It's just all too scary. Frank, you were telling me there's a festival coming up to Flatwoods that you're going to be participating in September. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's the Flatwoods Days Green Monster Festival, and Alfred Lemberg and myself are going to be going to Flatwoods as guests of the town, and it's going to be held September 4th, 5th, and 6th. It's a 3-day event. I'm going to have my monster museum set up. I'm bringing in a lot of my research, and it's going to be available to the public. My displays, all the historical items.
I want to see the map. Are you going to have the map there?
Yeah, and that's pretty much a hit of the whole show.
There are pictures of the map, not to interrupt, but there are pictures of the map on Frank's website that are pretty easy to find.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think we've pulled those up in the past.
Maybe I have seen the map.
What date is this?
It's September 4, 5, and 6 of this year.
Okay, what events are going on each day? Is this like the Flatwoods Mothman Battle Extravaganza like you had last year, or is it?
Well, what we're going to do this year is we're going to have guided tours around Flatwoods.
Really?
Eyewitness Freddie May, who was the witness who saw the damaged craft flying overhead the playground, and who actually came within a few feet of the monster, he's going to be up there with Alfred and myself. And we're going to be going to the different points of Flatwoods throughout that section of Braxton County, and we're going to be giving a guided tour showing where the incidents unfolded at the different major points throughout the town. And I'm going to be showing my Flatwoods Monster video documentary, excuse me, and I'm going to be giving lectures. You can sit down and talk with Freddie May. We're having a meet and greet with all the boys there, and it's all going to be held right in downtown Flatwoods.
Now, is this going to be each day you're doing the tour? Is it?
Yes.
All
yeah,
right.
different people have been contacting us. Some people are coming in Friday, and we're going to have an actual night tour up to the location up near the farm where it actually happened. And Saturday is going to be the big day with all the events. There's actually going to be a parade and different things going on and different things for the kids to do. And we're having a drawing contest for kids. I'm going to be working with some of the school children. And, Alfred and I did this in the past. We had like a drawing art contest for the kids. And they sit down and they talk with us. And the kids like talking with Freddie May because the West Virginia's been reading about this story for 56-plus years now.
Yeah.
And it's really fascinating to actually sit down with one of the witnesses and talk to him and hear it right from his own mouth. That's exciting. Even to me, it's still exciting after knowing Freddie May this many years to sit down and hear the story over again.
What were you saying, Alfred?
Well, I was going to say that we were talking about kids earlier, and West Virginia's own Lexi Loudon has recently won an award in a science fair for talking about the Flatwoods Monster Affair, and that's a pretty exciting thing. Getting the kids involved like that, because I mean it's the future, it's the whole rest of their lives, and the whole rest of the universe all in one hat. Who couldn't reach for that? Who can't reach for that?
I think the younger generation is going to accept this a lot better than the older generation.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, because they're growing up with, it's almost to some people one of those things like you kind of tongue in cheek. Yeah, the government doesn't accept it, but
Well, I mean, look at the caller we had earlier.
Sure.
He that's all a front. The UFO's all a front. To take our minds off of what's really going on.
Hey, if we admit the truth of UFOs, what lie can continue to hide behind that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Would you say that this is one of the longest running supposed or alleged cover-ups?
Well, this one among many others. I mean, there's reams and reams of books written about denial and our inability to face things squarely and show a little courage, if I may. I'd also like to say too. We were talking earlier about the town of Flatwoods, and I'm flat jumping up and down about having the opportunity to go into that town and very humbly attempt to try to give them some face back and self-respect back.
Is this your first visit?
To Flatwoods, it will be.
Yeah.
I've never been in there before, and I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm going to say I've never been to Flatwoods. It's I know it's Braxton County. Where exactly is it? In the middle of the state?
Dead middle,
Frank?
isn't it?
Yeah, middle
Frank?
I'm trying to think of where it might be near. Is it near Clarksburg?
It's south of Clarksburg. It's actually the geographical center of the state.
Oh, okay.
And it's exit 67 off of Interstate 7.
I know Lola was asking because when you say you're gonna have a party, kind of a party down there, it's like, how far is it? Can we get there? I mean, that's what I'm thinking
like
too.
I'm the party animal here.
Lola
I'm
loves
sorry.
to
Well,
party.
I was looking it up and I lost the thing.
Well, actually, what I found interesting working with the different people over the years with this Flatwoods case is that where this craft actually landed was in the middle of the mountains, in the middle of the state, void of any Air Force bases. There's no Air Force bases in that area, no interceptors. So it's kind of, I bring that up in the Shoot 'em Down book. I show all the nearest locations of bases.
How close would that be to the Greenbrier? I know that seems kind of a weird question, but
Greenbrier, it wasn't built back in that.
Okay, I wasn't sure when it was built. The Greenbrier, the vault underground. I was wondering how close it would be. I guess I can't remember when it was built. Off the top of my head now.
Early 60s, I believe.
Early 60s,
okay.
Okay.
About 61-ish,
Okay.
I think.
It'd been kind of interesting if it was close to that.
All right.
But it's interesting. You look at a West Virginia map, and West Virginia is just due west of Washington, D.C. So it was actually doing the research. It was kind of easy to figure out the flight path trajectories. And what we were talking about earlier is if these were crafts were maybe American technology. From the witnesses that I spoke to by the maneuvers that were being made, there was no appendages on these crafts, and they were floating through the air. They were making erratic and different movements.
Now, didn't the Nazis have a type of saucer? Wasn't that on one of the UFO shows?
Yes, in fact, a recent UFO show where they kind of explored that whole thing. And sure, it could have been a Nazi UFO, but I'll tell you what, if it was a Nazi UFO, it could just as easily have continued to be an alien UFO.
Well, what's interesting is the Flatwoods cases, it was the descriptions of the different crafts that we're seeing. Egg-shaped. I was actually standing, one of the witnesses, Jack Davis, he was in Flatwoods, and he was an adult witness. The May family and a bunch of kids saw it from one part of town. Jack Davis was on another part of town, and he saw it from a high point, and he described it, it looked pretty much like a big oval, like a football-shaped object. And he saw it quite close. And the thing actually flew over and was changing directions, and when it got over to Bailey Fisher Farm on that plateau, it kind of turned and fell and just dropped to the ground. It was I call it a crash landing. It was an emergency landing, but from what the descriptions just said, it was just kind of like dropped straight down to the ground. And Freddie May told me that what he saw, the technology back in '52, we didn't have anything that was like that.
Now, here's a question. Now, you say
especially what got out of it afterwards.
Yeah. Now, you say it dropped down, it crashed down, or emergency landing.
Right.
That would be because something was shooting at it, correct?
That
supposedly.
Yeah, that's the point that we brought up. And an interesting part of this whole thing that amazed me when I was doing my research back years ago is I wasn't aware of the military armaments back then.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people were saying, well, if these things were shot down, do you think bullets could have taken them down? And Alfred could probably explain this just as well as me, because he actually fired some of these things. They were called the 2.75-inch Mighty Mouse rockets. And back in 1952, these rockets were used on the F-94C Starfire, the F-86 Sabre Dog, the D model of the Sabre jet, and the Navy had a fighter that actually looked like a bat. It was called the F-7U-3 Cutlass. And all three of these aircraft were being used in that era, and they were all firing these Mighty Mouse rockets. So, Alfred, do you want to jump into this and explain a little bit?
Well, just
about those rockets?
I don't care what kind of UFO you are. If you're not prepared for it and don't have some kind of countermeasure, 6.5 to 10 pounds of high explosive TNT arriving at the speed of sound is going to change your day.
Now, why didn't the government or military or whatever it was stop and finish the job once it crashed down?
What happened is when this thing went down in Flatwoods, Kathleen May had reported this to the local sheriff's department. And to make a long story short, this whole thing went from Flatwoods through Braxton County. It went up to Washington, and I actually interviewed Colonel Dale Levitt, who was a World War II hero. And Levitt was the commander. He was a captain in '52. And he told me in an interview in the early 90s, which is videotaped, by the way, the only one in existence, that he was called by officials of Washington from the United States Air Force, and he was told to bring his troops, a contingent of troops, into Flatwoods. There were UFOs crashing around. What I said earlier, there were different ones seen in Braxton County. There was actually another damaged one that came in, and that one crashed down Route 4 in the area of Sugar Creek and Frametown.
So there's 3 that crashed in West Virginia.
Yes.
Okay, real quick, we got a phone call. Who we got, Lo?
This is David, and he's a long-time listener and long-time caller. So,
Hi, David. How you doing?
Hey, good evening, gentlemen and ladies. I got to tell you, it's fascinating. What I'm hearing, it's really pretty much the first time I've been able to spend some time listening to the show. But anybody that I hope you guys agree. Anybody that does not recognize the fact that there's something going on is blind.
Oh yeah.
I mean, isn't it amazing that the technology that we now possess can't? I mean, let's face it. I mean, where did stealth technology come from? Where did these different applications that we have for warfare come from? I mean, you can't. It's almost, and I think that the movies and the television shows that portray UFOs and ufologists and crazy people, or even as normal people, just they can't recognize the fact there's something going on. What do you guys think?
Is that for us or for Frank and Alfred?
Well,
anybody who wants to listen.
Sure. Frank, Alfred.
I agree with you.
Oh, reverse technology. What's amazing too is that the F-94C Starfire was unveiled in early July of 1952, and most people don't realize the Starfire C model actually had a computer on board.
Wow.
And that's pretty advanced for 52. It came out of nowhere. And during the Korean War, their Starfires were not allowed. The Starfire Cs were not allowed Korea because if they had went down, the Soviets could have got our advanced technology, and that was, a pretty powerful jet for that era. And even though it was an early jet age aircraft, it was still advanced.
I heard someone in the background there. Who was that?
It's funny because I don't know. I just think that logic dictates that there is technology that's out there that we know nothing about as general Americans. But something there's just too much proof. I mean, there is a website that I frequent called the greatest UFO photos ever taken. The first year is 1890.
Really?
Where a gentleman who was a gold miner in Washington State actually took a picture of the first UFO. 1890. I mean, to not recognize that either we're being visited or on the other hand that there is technology that's now available to us that we really shouldn't have or don't know where it came from.
Well, I mean, Nick's been saying for a while, look at Star Trek.
Yeah.
Everything that they've used. I mean, we got cell phones now.
It's amazing that you say that because I just wrote an article today on a website about that. Gene Roddenberry was a genius, an absolute genius. Because you're right, the communicators. Well, what are they? Well, they're cell phones. The weapons that they used were all laser based. The information that they were able to garner and detect was done with a tricorder and their medical facilities. I mean, I'll never forget as long as I live. And I think it was just one of the Star Trek movies that said, "My God, Jim, this is brutality." And it was referring to Dr. McCoy saying about how we operate on people.
Wow.
Think about it this way. You remember the days when if you got an operation, you got stitches. Then the next thing was we got staples. Now what are they using? Super glue.
I'll tell you, my dad had open heart surgery in October, and I mean he didn't have stitches. It was pretty much just glued back together, and they cut him right open, and he's barely scarred.
The caller brings up an interesting point, if I may. That
go ahead.
There is. Has anyone else noticed the acceleration with which these new technological advances seem to be coming too?
I have.
I mean,
I think part of it is reverse technology. I mean, it's in fact these crafts have landed, and if in fact we have examples and specimens or whatever the case may be, I don't care where they come from. It doesn't matter. The reality of it is that they're using reverse technology to understand that technology in order to garner us a better military force or an advantage against the rest of the world.
And it seems that the stuff that was crashing in the 40s and 50s, maybe it's taken this long for our scientists to figure out how they actually work. And that's why all of a sudden something that they stumbled onto something and figured something out, and bang, all the technology, every time you turn around, there's new medical procedures, new aircraft, new this, new that. Maybe it took that many years to figure.
Let me ask you this, guys. What is your honest opinion of Area 51? I mean, I know it's been, folklore and legend and all this stuff, and Bob Goddard, who supposedly worked on these crafts, and of course everybody's turned him into a nutcase because they want to discredit him. But honest to God, I mean, what is up with Area 51?
Well, I'll tell you, it's pretty much a hot spot and a focal point for such peculiar stuff that any way you look at it, it's got to be a location of the highest strangeness.
And you know, what not George W. Bush, but what his father said at one point in time, if you knew what I knew, you wouldn't sleep at night. In regards to, geez. Well, yeah, in regards to what he has knowledge of and privy to. And when President Clinton first came into office, one of his things was he wanted to know what was going on with this UFO technology, and he was even out of the loop. Who is this controlling group that tells even presidents, the most powerful men in the world, that they are not allowed to have this knowledge? In other words, I guess, what they used to
Well, I was going to say, Clinton admitted in Japan when asked about UFOs by a student from the audience, he said flat out that there is a government within the government, and it was a government that I did not control.
You know, isn't it
a little
amazing?
Scary.
Isn't it amazing? I know I'm going on long, but isn't it amazing that being a humongous fan of the X-Files and always been interested in unusual phenomena, as I've always been, but isn't it amazing that Chris Carter, the creator and the producer and the writer of the X-Files, was so close to what's actually happening? I just, and people forget to acknowledge that. I don't know. I don't know if it discredits the ability for all of us to look at this and say that it's reality versus, David Duchovny.
Well, look at Fringe now. I mean, there are, sure, some of it is way out there, but you know damn well we have had scientists experimenting with all of this kind of stuff since at least the 40s.
And I want
to, what's amazing is that I think sometimes, our lives are so busy as just normal human beings that we forget to recognize what's going on around us because we're being bombarded with all this other crap that we forget, and it's just too much for us to even comprehend. And there's no way. I mean, I don't care if you don't believe in UFOs or aliens or any of that stuff. That's fine. But the reality of it is, it's mathematics. If you believe in mathematics, you have to recognize the fact that there are so many billions of planets that are like ours, or even similar to ours, or even not protein based. Maybe they're carbon based, or vice versa. And there has to be life out there somewhere. Don't you guys agree?
Well, I'll tell you, we're getting way off the subject here, but briefly on that, if I can just say that, we've got life on the tops of airless, snowy peaks, all the way down to buried in the ocean, tens of miles underground in boiling pressure that cannot be believed. And if you've got life in that particular smear, it's everywhere in the universe.
Yeah.
And what is this new life form that they've discovered by drilling into these icebergs and things of this nature, and have found prions and things that would not require the same things that you and I and everybody that's listening to the show need to survive.
Yep.
It'll find life, like they say, life will find a way. We need to move on. Thank you for your call, David.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, David.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
one.
Bye, Lola.
Bye.
I was even thinking, just when he was saying that, if I can just stay on the life topic there for just a second, guys. If we're looking for life on other planets by our standards,
that's right,
of what life should be and what life is,
with our physics,
So who's to say that every time they've been to Mars or the moon or whatever, the stuff they're picking up, I mean, they're looking at as, hey, this isn't Earth life. Well, no, you're not on Earth, you idiot. I don't know. That's just something to throw out there.
Life could even be machine-like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what are we but biological machines?
True.
Very true.
Everything's pumping. Hey, fellas, that's all the time we got for today. Want to thank you guys for coming on. It's been a pleasure. You've officially been the longest guest we've ever had on the show.
And you're the first ones on our new network.
And you're the first ones to join us on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network.
Outstanding.
So you guys are out there, and you're.
I'm humbly proud.
So are we.
Give us the dates again for the Flatwoods.
It's September 4, 5, and 6 of this year, and for further information, you could look at flatwoodsmonster.com. And we're going to be having updates every week as we start getting more activity.
Yeah, just anytime you want to give me a call,
you're going to come down, right, guys?
I'd really like to.
I've always wanted to go to Flatwood.
What's the cost to get in?
It's a 3-day open public affair.
All right.
There's going to be parades going on. There's going to be tours. There's going to be different things, and homemade food. That's another reason I like to go up. If you guys like to eat there, prepare on game.
I like to eat anywhere. Hey, thanks a lot, guys, and we'll be seeing you.
Right. Good night.
Night, guys.
Good night, and a shout out to Flatwoods. You do us all proud.
And for your, if people want to find more information about you, UFOmag.com, correct?
Yes.
And Alien Views blog, I have them all linked up on our website if people want to get in touch with you. So.
Whispersradio.com. You guys can check it out.
All right, thank you very much.
You guys have a good night.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, Al.
Bye-bye.
Catch you later.
And the first time we've had 2 guests on from separate locations, I believe. That's kind of, a night for firsts.
Wow.
No, you don't like that?
That works.
What do you think, Lo? What's your opinions on the...
I find this whole, first of all, you have to really give them credit, Frank particularly, to have devoted so much of his life to doing nothing but literally combing through obscure things and trying to piece together just small tidbits of information in some cases. And it's scary. It's really scary to think that all of this has been going around, and I happen to agree with David. It's one of those look over here things where, we're so bombarded, particularly in this day and age, with so much stuff that it's easy to get things past the general public because we are consumed with our own daily lives. And, for Frank to have taken all that time and energy, to piece all of this together and to try and figure it out, my only question is, and I did ask it, why in 1952? Yeah. What was the catalyst that made all of this come about?
And what happened that it's not every year? What happens? Why is it not now?
Yeah, because 52, I don't know, but it doesn't seem to me that there was some giant breakthrough in our defense systems or the way that we could, radar or anything that would have clued us in better. We'd already detonated how many hydrogen bombs at that point?
Yeah.
So, that really makes me curious.
Maybe they were looking from the other planets and saying, what are they doing? They're going to kill themselves. We better go down there quick and see if they're going to try to kill us.
I'm looking through, you can go to Wikipedia and type in a year. It'll tell you things that happen, major events. B-52 Stratofortress flies for the first time. That was in April. That's one of the big, huge B-52. I mean, that's not the big,
but that's to drop
nuclear
bombs.
Submarine. First nuclear submarine was launched then. Looks like.
Maybe it was the discovery. Our actually starting to use nuclear power for things. Maybe
Army
that was
Special
the catalyst.
Forces created that year.
No, I don't think the aliens care.
Yeah, I'm just kind of.
But who's to say still? Because here's my thing. Still, why are we saying that this is not government related? Why are all these crash landings, all this stuff that's being cited? I know he said, well, anybody would follow the beacons, but how do they know to follow our flight beacons? That doesn't mean anything to them. when the UFOs were flying our flight lines through West Virginia.
I think one of the things we didn't get into
That's
this
true.
time as much because we focused more on the missing soldiers was the reason they were doing the what they were heading towards. If I remember correctly, when we talked to them the first time, one of them was going towards Wright-Patterson. The other one was going towards the atomic.
In Tennessee.
In Tennessee, and then the third one was going towards Washington. And if you look at the lines, that's why I said I've seen his map before in the back of his book. I want to see the 6x8 super map. I mean, just to look over it, because all three of them did this kind of trajectory. I mean, dead center, straight down the line, kind of rushing them. And we didn't get into that. Why they would be doing that? Kind of sending us a message. And, why were they sending the message? Did we get the message? Probably not.
Well, no, we're still sitting here pondering it today.
Yeah.
We didn't learn anything.
And here's something else to think about. You were talking about why aren't we coming out with this? Well, what if let's say the alien presence that is, what if all the technology they're giving to us is so that they can do whatever they want to here? Because look at all the stuff that we've talked about, all the technologies that we've been able to quote unquote reverse engineer, all the stuff that we've come out with as all these sightings have been showing up. Who's to say that we're not trading information to some kind? Any thoughts?
Now you're getting close to that mile underground thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And that one I still have real problems with.
The Dulce base?
Yeah.
Dulce, yeah. I mean, it's...
Or not. Okay.
I don't know. I don't have the answer. I mean, it's one of those imponderables kind of thing. I mean, I know we didn't get the lesson, and I don't think the U.S. government got the lesson because they continued their march towards whatever. Okay.
Who we got?
Well, it's Barb. But that Las Cruces, that was the name of it? No.
Let me look it up real quick.
No, it's not. That one, I just am finding a little.
That's the Dulce base, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You asking where it was?
Well, it's Dulce, New Mexico, so...
and I was just looking at maps of New Mexico. In fact, there was a sighting by a ship. I was going to ask them about it, but it was out of their time frame. It was in the 60s, 67, I think.
I bet you Alfred probably would have knew about it. It
was in Socorro, New Mexico.
Uh-huh.
Zamora and Chavez. And Zamora was a police officer, and he was giving somebody a traffic ticket or something, and heard a huge bang and thought a dynamite shed had blown up.
Really?
And when he got over the hill, lo and behold, it was like this scorched area with the dirt carved out, kind of like if you'd taken a rounded shovel, and carved it out. And I think he saw a craft, and he called immediately for backup, and they called Blue Book. And the Air Force sent people out, and the Air Force actually said the man saw something that was unexplainable. And, we believe him. He's a police officer. He's a reliable source. That was like in the 60s, right? 60s.
I don't think I've ever heard of that. That's an interesting one. I'll do some research on that.
And, I was just checking out towns around Albuquerque.
Uh-huh.
And
why? Because you're wanting to go there?
Yeah. But, and so I was checking out Socorro to see if they had a local newspaper, and so I Wikipedia'd it, and boom, that comes up, and I thought, now this is weird. I've got these guys on, we're talking about it, and it's one of the major sections of the Socorro, New Mexico entry.
So you're moving that way to see if you can find a UFO.
You're going to move anywhere you got to see something, aren't you? We've about ruined you, Lola.
Well, I'm drawing the line at Dulce.
Gulf Breeze.
I'm drawing the line.
Gulf Breeze, Florida. That's what I mean, supposedly they come right up to the beach, take you out, if you remember.
Ooh.
Yeah, so.
There we go. Yeah, I just may have found a new home. This is Barb.
How you doing, Barb?
Hey, guys. What's going on?
Oh, not much. How about you?
Well, listen, when the guy was talking about the UFO going over Wheeling and all that stuff, like about 10 years ago, I lived across from an older lady in South Wheeling, and she told me the story one night that she was out in the yard, her kids were younger, which would have been in the 50s, early 60s, and saw this craft go over South Wheeling and went over St. Paul's Church and hovered over St. Paul's Church, which is in South Wheeling, and then zoom.
was gone.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
and she was not I had known her most of my life, and she told me that story, and I was really surprised about it. But then to hear that guy say there was one time when there was stuff happening here, I thought, well, maybe she did see it.
Well, I'll tell you, Nick and I were trying to be skeptical when we first had him on. So we're like, let's get as much research on the history of Wheeling that we can maybe catch him in a lie, or we were trying to play devil's advocate there. So we went to the library and searched all the newspapers, from that month. And gosh darn it, we found articles out the yin yang.
Yeah. It wasn't exactly hard because they had they were right there.
Front page stuff, pictures
people
of
at
the
football
monster.
games seeing
I remember
meteors.
her telling
it was
me
crazy.
This. And my children were little at the time, so I was kind of like, okay, But her daughter, she has passed on, but her daughters still remember her making them go in the house because she saw this thing. So, I don't know.
Did the daughters see anything, or?
No.
No? Okay.
The mom saw it and made the kids go in the house. But Nancy swore up and down this is what she saw. And, she wouldn't back down on it. She said, I know what I saw, and she would never forget it.
I know what I saw, and I will know what no one will convince me of anything different. Now, it wasn't.
Well, her thing was, it was a sign. She was like, not religious, but she said, you know what? It makes me know that we're not the only place that has life. And then she was like, why they would come here, I don't know. But she swore to the day she died that she saw that. So, what are you going to do?
That's crazy.
She believed it, and she was an honest, very hardworking woman, so I don't know why she would lie about it. But her kids will, when you talk to them, which I'm still friends with them, they'll say, I remember the night Mom made us all go in the house, but she wouldn't say why. She just rushed them into the house.
I bet it was scary. I'd probably pull my kids inside, too.
Oh, I would. I would in a heartbeat. So, what's the plans with the pen next week? Is everybody meeting somewhere?
Oh, geez, Louise, that was going to be our next topic.
All right. Well, I'm not Louise, but I want to know because my daughter's home from school.
And geez, LaBarb.
We are guns up and ready to go, man.
Hey, we are going to meet. Registration begins at 11:30, so we are going to be meeting out front at the pen at 11:30.
Cool. We've got our little tape recorders and our movie cameras, and we're ready to go.
Oh, it's going to be a great night. I've been on the phone with people from North Carolina that are excited about coming, and this is going to be a great night.
What's funny is the guy that she goes to school with at Marshall was like, dude, I'm going to that.
Oh, yeah?
She's like, no way. So you got people from all over coming.
Yeah,
so it's going to be
We're really excited
great.
about it.
I'm trying not to think about it.
Try not to think about it.
Lola's starting to get nervous. She's going to be the rock when we're all cowering.
Yeah.
I could bring you the tape I have of the first time I went if it'll make you feel better.
That's okay.
No, because she's got that Ghost Adventures show.
There's a couple weird things on this tape.
See, that's why do not bring it. Do not, Barb. Do not bring this.
It will really make her go, I don't think I'm going to go in there.
Oh, she doesn't have a choice.
I can't
She's
punk.
Gonna go.
I cannot punk. I will not punk. These guys
know
are
where
going
she
to cry
lives,
like
we're
little
gonna go
girls,
find
but not me.
Honey, just remember this.
Yeah.
The dead ones can't hurt you. It's the live ones you got to worry about. Okay?
That's the other reason she's afraid to go with us.
It's Sammy the Bull you got to worry about.
There you go. Well,
Hey.
You know what? I'll bet he bolts before Lola does. I'll lay money on it. And I told him that. I stopped one morning to pick up a pizza coupon or something, and I said, I guarantee you'll bolt before Lola does. And he was like, no. So,
We should do an over and under on that one.
Yeah,
we'll see.
We might have to start making side bets.
You know what, though? I quit gambling, so I can't bet anymore.
Hey, Barb.
All right, guys. Have a great night.
See you later, Barb.
You too, Barb.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, the pen trip. We're all paid and ready. 22nd, Friday night. Oh.
I've gotta get a tape recorder. I want a digital. I don't want something with white noise.
I think I saw some nice ones over at Best Buy. Pretty good price. What you're looking for.
Now,
I
what
know
about
you
this?
have-
What's this movie camera tip? Will they actually work? I mean, we're not going to have lights, right?
Well, you got the IR lights, the infrared lights, and the whole premise behind why people
got
do
those? I don't have those.
a camcorder. You have a camcorder?
Does it have night vision or night?
Mine is so old
what is
it
that
still
called?
uses tape.
It's not one of those big giant ones.
You got to rest it on your shoulder.
Yeah,
and walk
no,
around.
it's not that big.
Well, when you use it, supposedly, when ghosts or spirits are trying to manifest themselves, they'll pull in whatever energy.
Yeah, that's
that's around.
The batteries won't last.
Well, that's why you can plug it into the wall. But
that's right.
With the infrared light, that manifestation of energy is supposed to show up in the infrared light. That's why ghost hunters use the IR lights and go around at night. Mm-hmm. Most people didn't know that, and now you do.
Alrighty. Well, I do want to bring. I've got this EA old like Walkman thing.
Yeah.
And I got some tapes of like 40s music and bluegrass and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, that's going to be fun to try.
Because I don't really want to antagonize them. I'm thinking that is not the hot tip for this trip.
Yeah, but see, look at that Ghost Adventures episode for whatever credibility you want to give that.
I don't.
They were yelling and screaming, and they were getting a lot.
Yeah, I know it.
I wouldn't want to go into a prison and say, I'm the warden here, do as I say. They were killing people, so.
I know. That's why I think it's
Jordan's
better to
walk
use
that walk himself.
No, I'm not.
nice music and talk nicely, and then they'll
try to recreate their.
I don't know. Every time you've said this, though, I have this vision of how you're supposed to talk nicely to your plants.
Yeah.
It's just the same thing. Kind of. Mom is proud of you.
You guys, come on now. You can show me. I know.
Okay, Lola.
Got a bunch of guys from the fire department coming. I'm trying to get them to snatch the thermal camera off the truck.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
It'll never happen.
Why did you say that on the air?
I mean, it's because the chief ain't listening.
Oh, okay, good. Tonight's the night he was.
Yeah, tonight will be the night he's listening, right?
He's pulling you into the office. Lola, I thought I would let you know that Jordan, you were there, right? I did graduate.
Nick finally graduates. Everybody.
Yay.
Everybody out there in Radio Land, give Nick, finally after 6 years, has a bachelor's degree.
I've talked about this. I was only there for 5.5. But it's nice to be graduated. I'm out of there. I'm happy.
It's about time. Everybody deserves a graduation every now and then.
Yeah, sure. And I'm very happy. So, I don't. What else do you say? Are we going to be meeting? We were talking about this before. Before the prison, like McDonald's, like we usually do. If you want to join us there, maybe around 10 o'clock.
10 that early?
About 10:30. What time is registration? 11:30.
Yeah. So
I want to get as much snooze time as I can before.
Well, that's what I'm going to do that day. I mean, it's.
Yeah, maybe 10:30.
Yeah.
Anybody out there who's going to the pen, maybe we'll stop at the McDonald's in Moundsville at 10:30. You can get a quick bite with us.
Yeah, that sounds.
That'll be fun.
10:30. Yeah.
So yeah,
and
that way it'll give us some time maybe to make sure everybody gets there. They can follow us because it is a little hard to get to the prison.
Where do you now? If you're not going to McDonald's, where do we park?
Right in front of the prison. There's room right in front.
Okay.
Have you never been there, Lo?
Once.
And I think there's some street parking there
Halloween.
too. Oh really?
Yeah, there's.
And the Halloween they get so packed in there. It is. But I think everybody should have room out front.
There's street parking in front too, so.
Yeah, so it's pretty intimidating driving up there at night. And
I know. It's all right.
Very gothic.
Cool.
We'll let you ride with us so we can make sure you don't bolt.
Now, we can take a cooler, correct?
Yeah, I'm working on getting the Carlos in Elm Grove is going to be helping us get some food.
Okay.
So we're going to have pizza and stuff there, and try to get some sodas or Cokes.
We got the pizza coming from Elm Grove to Carlos, which is nice.
I just said that.
Did you say that?
Yeah.
I missed the Elm Grove part. I'm sorry.
Thank you for that.
Not a problem.
An extra little plug. Elm Grove to Carlos. Did I say that yet?
Nice.
Hey, for the record, everybody listening out there, I just started that P90X workout. You ever heard of that?
Did you?
Speaking of pizza.
Today's day 2, and I'm doing it after the show. Day 1 hurt.
I'm thinking by day 30, you're not going to be able to move.
Oh.
I saw an infomercial on that. And isn't it every 30 days you change the entire routine?
Yeah, well, I mean, each day is different.
Oh, I thought
like
it was...
Day one was chest and back. Today's plyometrics. I think Thursday is yoga. Woo! But, yeah, watch me doing yoga. You should have seen me doing push-ups. I think I did more push-ups yesterday than I've ever done in my life, collectively.
One?
Half.
Now, do you have to have a special machine for that, or is everything done?
No, it's all DVD. You do chin-ups, you do push-ups, some weight stuff. It's not
Isn't
it's
there
not really that.
kickboxing in it too? And
There's
all kinds of
kickboxing
stuff?
in it too. I think it's kendo. So you got to
Are
keep
you going
me.
to be able to
I watched
move?
it, got really tired.
You guys out there are gonna have to keep me accountable, because I'm telling you this, and today's my day 2. So in 90 days, I'm gonna be a sexy man.
Stud muffin.
He'll either be a stud muffin or he will not be able to move.
So if I'm not here in a couple weeks, you'll know I'm dead.
It's like Jordan tried to get to the show, but he did not get to the door.
Now, are you on a special diet with that too? I would think that they'd want
He
you
had
to
a cookie
kind of
at my
diet.
house earlier.
You're supposed to be
a cookie.
My buddy Eric Woods, who was on with us a couple weeks ago, he's doing the program with me, and he's got the whole nutrition thing. I don't have the money to buy special foods.
Oh, I know it.
So I'm
That's
just gonna
crazy.
watch what I eat. Supposedly, you can still eat whatever. I mean, not whatever, but if you just watch what you eat, it'll still show some results. So.
Well, just by looking at that, just for a few minutes of the infomercial, I can't imagine if you just do the physical part of it, that you wouldn't see big results.
Tell you what, just for an hour yesterday, I'm feeling it.
Oh, I can imagine. I want to start jazzercise, and it's like, I get tired thinking.
Yeah.
I just want to get walking. I think walking would be a huge start for most people. I mean,
Yeah.
That's what I want to
get
try
a
to
dog. That's why one of the reasons I wanted a dog, and Gretch certainly does keep me walking.
Certain dogs that you don't really walk, it's more of a drag.
No, but she's getting really good on her leash now. I mean, now if she's off leash like yesterday and running around like a crazed animal, she doesn't listen. But she's still got so much puppy in her. And
hey, I want to say, Lo, that this is our first day on UPRN, and I've already got several messages on the chat room that people love you.
Oh, God.
They say, who's the chick?
Yeah.
I like sassy. Who we got next week, Nick?
Well, we have West Virginia Ghost Quest. It's going to be stopping by, talking to us about all kinds of EVPs and picking up, how to pick up EVPs at investigations. I'm also trying to, wrap up some other people.
Trying to find somebody
right
maybe.
The pen, yeah.
Trying to find somebody maybe to come on the show and talk to the pen. I want to have some of the guys from Wheeling Paranormal who are going to be there to come and join us as well. It should be a fun show next week.
It's our pen lead-up show, and
it'll be our first official announced show on UPRN, so that'll be exciting too. So
today caught us off guard. At least caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting. I thought we had one good run-through show where we could just be silly as usual. And now, like everybody hears it, but this is what you get. This is what you get. This is how we are.
I say stick to your guns if it makes you makes you successful.
If it makes you happy. No.
And we just lost 12 people.
Yeah. Collectively, we heard them turn off. No. Have you guys talked to anybody about the Capitol yet?
I'm still sending out some things, kind of some fillers. Hopefully, we can get something working out with pretty soon. We've had a lot of people on here that do that kind of thing, and
because I would like to, if it's okay with the CVB, get someone in there before they start any real work.
Sure. It'd be interesting before and then while if there's work being done.
Yeah,
because
see how angry they are.
So it's we should all get together one day and talk to
Frank.
Well, talk to Frank and see off the air would be good. And that way we can kind of see what they're looking for and start getting things together for Wheeling.
All right, that's all the time we got for this week, everybody. Next week, fun show. Until then, don't be afraid, only believe.